Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another scrapbooking process video, and this is our final page using the Candid Moments workbook from Close to My Heart. So after this, the rest of the layouts with these products will be my own design, but I really wanted to create everything from the workbook just because it's really helped me get caught up on Avery's baby album. I was really able to do all of these in one weekend really quickly, and it was a lot of fun to kind of play that way. So this is the last page using their workbook. It coordinates really nicely with that last page I did for Avery's 3-month update. And so now I'm just piecing everything together. I'm going to start off by doing their design. So their design has 3 photos. It has one 4x6 and then 2 4x4s. It looks like a 3x4 and 2 3x3s. But I have 2 4x6s, but one of them is landscape and one of them is vertical. So they will look kind of proportionally similar. So I'm just going to kind of create the same way, even though my photos are slightly different. I've kind of done that all month long. I really don't want anyone to look at their projects and feel restricted because you have photos in different sizes. It's so easy to work around that. So I'm really trying to showcase that this month, and I really feel like that's a skill that translates well to being able to use sketches, being able to scrap lift, not being restricted by what you're inspired by, and just let it free you up a little bit and just use it how you need. And so that's kind of what we're doing with these projects. I'm piecing together this little camera piece that goes on this page, which is super cute. They give you all the pieces for it, so you just have to assemble it. I did pop up a couple pieces of the lens on some foam tape, so that has a little bit of dimension the way a real camera would, which I think is really sweet. And now I'm going to assemble the page. I had this scrap of this blue left over from another page. It's a little bit skinnier than the one they used on their project, but I'm really not worried about that. It's a scrap I have, and I'd rather use that than cut into another 12 by 12 for a piece that's a very similar size. So I'm just going to use what I have. They use the yellow polka dot branding strip to kind of join the white background and the blue layer, so I'm going to add that as well. I'm inking the entire page in blue, just so I can have that blue color around the edges. And then this page I'm really going to be using the papaya ink a lot. And I'm really glad I actually went back and bought that ink, because I didn't realize when I bought this collection how much that color was used in this collection. So I'm really glad I have it, because it really comes in handy, especially when I get to my title. So we'll get there in a minute. I am going to ink the yellows in, actually, am I using papaya for that too? No, I'm inking the yellows in my Butter Bar ink, which is just a little yellow ink pad that I have that Moira gave me. And so I'm just going to do that tone on tone inking, which I've also been enjoying. And then that's going to be glued down the middle there, and then I can pretty much start with my layering and my and all that stuff. So their project, they matted the photos in the papaya paper, which is the pinky paper. I've used that on other pages when I wasn't supposed to use it, so I don't have enough of that to mat these photos in, but I do have a good amount of the yellow paper, so I'm just going to use the yellow instead. Yellow is still one of the colors on here, especially because the branding strip is yellow, so I'm just going to use that color instead of the one that they did. The papaya mat looks really nice on their layout, but I'm not going to worry about it. I alternated that color out on another page, so now I'm just having to make up for it now. But you can kind of see how I'm going to lay my photos out. They look very similar to the way that the photos were laid out in their project. It's just instead of 2 3x3s stacked together vertically, I have 1 4x6. So that's not really bothering me at all. I'm just going to work with it how I have it. And now I'm kind of assembling all the layered pieces. There's some layered florals that are going to be in a couple areas. There's some wood grain title that's going to be there along with this kind of pinky scripty piece. So I'll assemble the title in a little bit, but for right now I'm trying to assemble all of the layery bits. The camera goes up there above the vertical photo, so I'm just trying to lay everything out the way they did it. This is where I decide, okay, well, I don't have enough of the pink paper to mat my photos, so I'm going to go ahead and use the yellow. And on their project, they only matted the vertical photo. I'm going to go ahead and mat both of the photos in yellow. I'm going to end up overlapping these photos since they're a little bit larger than theirs. To make some more room, I'm going to squish them together instead of have them separate. but that'll help me in the long run. But I feel like it would have been weird having these photos scooched together and overlapping and only one of them matted. So I'm just going to go ahead and mat both of them. You can see I am using my little finger dauber I found to use the papaya ink, and I'm just inking around both of these in the papaya color. That gives me that kind of pink tinge that was on the original if I would have used the papaya paper instead. But I like that addition of the pink just because I don't have the mats in pink. And then I think I'm going on with the title now. So this was a really cool technique they recommended you do. I didn't really notice that that's what they did on their layout until I got to creating it. But they give you this pink title, and then they recommend that you ink the bottom half of it in the papaya ink. So I'm really glad I went back and bought that ink. I'm just using a piece of plastic to mask off the top part of that title just so I get a nice crisp edge. But I love that there's this two-tone title now where I have the light pink on the top and the papaya ink on the bottom. I think that looks really cool. It kind of gives you a handmade touch. And this is also what I was saying about Close to My Heart kind of gives you really fun ideas to use on your own layout. So even if the layouts that they create aren't exactly your style, they kind of recommend and tell you to do kind of these different techniques that are really cool that you can use on future layouts. And that was one of them. I just never thought to like take a die cut and mask off the top half and only ink the bottom, but it gives you this really cool look. So I might have to use that on other pages when I'm using die cuts and stuff. So, but my title's drying up there at the top, so I'm trying to assemble the photo area down here. I'm trying to figure out proportionally where my photos need to layer and sit in order for me to layer how I want. I'm really trying to layer the same way they did, but because my photos are bigger, the floral cluster that's supposed to come out of the right of my landscape photo, it's really cramped over there. It's kind of running up into my title area. I really don't have room for any of this because my photos are taking up more room than they're supposed to. So this is when I kind of decided, okay, let me scooch the photos a little bit more to the left, maybe overlap them a little. I'm going to end up moving this floral cluster in the upper right-hand corner of that bottom photo into the corner of these two photos, just so there's this cluster coming out of the corner of those two photos instead of the right side. And that gives me a little bit more room for my title. So that's what I decided to do. I'm going to go ahead and glue the photos together. And now you can see it's going to give me more room clustering this floral piece over here to the left instead of coming out of the right side. It was just looking way too cramped coming out of the side over there. So I'm going to try and think of something else to put over in that little area. But this just looks better to me already. So now my title has enough space and now I think I'm going to start gluing everything down. But this is pretty much their design, just tweaked to kind of accommodate my change in picture proportion. I'm going to go ahead and try and glue everything down without shifting it too much because I like how everything was laying, so I don't want to move it. That blue piece that layers on top of this pink flower, I popped up on some foam tape, so that'll have a little bit of dimension. And I'm gluing these photos down over here, so I'm committing. And then there's that piece on some foam, which I think looks really nice. So that's another thing about these products. Like you guys know, I usually shy away from multicolor layouts. I really kind of like sticking to maybe just using two colors or maybe two colors and a pop of one more color. But using these multicolored layouts where there's just a lot of different colors, but they tell you how to use it, has helped me feel a little bit more comfortable with it. So now I am getting glue on all of these little pieces. I'm going to glue down the brackets so I have my spacing correct. But this is another cool thing that they did on this project was they used the papaya ink to sponge behind the title. So I'm going to go ahead and glue down the pieces that will stay, but then I will pick up the story letters and I will ink behind those in the papaya ink, and it'll give this really nice pink cloud behind the title that really helps it stand up, but also kind of introduces more color. Another thing that I'm kind of bad about is shying away from white backgrounds. They just kind of look too plain to me no matter what I do. And so this is another cool technique I'm picking up from them, is to kind of ink behind your title or ink behind an ephemera cluster or something, just to kind of add some more color, and I think it ends up looking really cool. So I got the pieces I know are going to stay glued down from the title. I'm going to go ahead and glue down the camera cluster too, because I'm happy with how that's looking now. And then I'll go in and I will ink the rest of the title, so you'll see what I mean in a minute. But this is a little cute cluster, so I'm just going to go ahead and, I didn't change, I don't think, anything about the camera cluster. I really like it. So now I'm just trying to get everything stuck back down. And I think the little yellow firework sticker from the sticker sheet that I'll pull in right there, that has some foam under it, so that has a little bit of dimension as well. And then now I don't know if I go in with more stickers. I think I do. There's a couple star stickers that they recommended using, so I'm going to add some up by the camera. There were some to the left of the vertical photo, but since I had scooched those over to accommodate my title, I'm going to put the stars to the right of the photos instead, and that kind of continues that vertical, or not vertical, but that diagonal embellishment line. Now that I've kind of moved everything, it creates this diagonal trickle of embellishment from the star in the upper left-hand corner down through the camera and the florals all the way to the stars in the bottom right-hand corner. So I really like how that kind of flows now. And one of those wood grain stars will have some foam as well. And I really like that. I knew I needed to pull in some extra wood grain pieces because I really love that this story is in this wood grain color. So I wanted to make sure there's enough other wood grain stuff to where that looks balanced. But here I'm going in with my little finger dauber. I actually did not add any more ink to it. I really wanted it to have this light, subtle look. So I just used the leftover ink that was on it from whatever I inked last and used it to create this cloud of pink that will be behind my title. So that's really cool. That's something I would have not done if they hadn't recommended doing that, and I think it looks really cool. So now I'm trying to space out all these letters. I'm getting glue on them, and I'm just trying to space them out before I stick them down because it's really a tight fit. There's only enough space to really fit them in exactly. So I'm going to try and get them in here where I had them. So I'm going to get glue on them first, line them up where I want them, and then I'll flip them over to stick them down, which is another good technique when you're kind of working with multiple pieces and you need them to fit a particular way. But I'm getting glue on the last one, and I'm almost done after this. I think I do go in and add some enamel dots. I love these photos. I took these photos when I was over babysitting, and you can see my cat in the bottom photo. She's obsessed with Avery. She's like, thinks that he's her baby or something. She is always watching over him, laying next to him. She wants to be with him constantly in her line of sight. And I just think that's really sweet. So I definitely wanted to document her laying next to him because she just is, we call her Avery's guardian cat because she is just always watching over him, which I think is really sweet. I might add a little bit of journaling. There you can see my layout, and here are the close-ups, but I might add a little bit of journaling, so you may or may not see that on the layout share. But this are the close-ups for this project, and we'll be creating my own layouts after this, so that'll be fun to play with these products my own way. But this is the last project from the booklet. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.